Hey, it's Emma Romano here, founder of the Thrive and Life Foundation, self-healing coach, and the midwife to your personal alchemy.
I am Kelly Bowen, founder of the Heaven Within Foundation, CEO of Lifestyle Finance Australia, finance expert, life and business coach.
And you are listening to Inspired Conversations,
where we talk about the things that really matter. Yes, we go there.
We share together what's exciting us, inspiring us, and having the most profound impact on our lives and our clients' lives. And we do this to elevate and inspire you.
We cover it all from life, body, love, relationships, trauma healing, addictions, business, money, and all things woo-woo.
So sit back, relax,
and get ready to be inspired and laugh the fuck out loud.
Welcome, everybody. This is Emma Romano. Kel is not with me because she's gallivanting around the world doing something. I think right now she's in Pompeii in Italy. This is the beautiful and amazing Lawrence Akers. This is Inspired Conversations with Emma and Cal. Today we are talking to Lawrence Akers. Lawrence Akers is a Melbourne guy and he's a hypnotherapist, and he has an amazing, amazing story to tell and past. And we're just sitting here going, what are we going to talk about? There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about, Lawrence.
Okay.
All right. First off,
hi everyone, by the way. Hi.
Hi everyone. Lawrence
is here.
Yes, Lawrence is an incredible, amazing hypnotherapist who works. We catch up for coffees now and again. And the last time we caught up was a couple of weeks. It was just before I went overseas to America, and we're talking about a certain topic, which I want to bring it up. But first off, I want you to tell everybody about your past experiences with all the pop stars, Lawrence.
My past, you want to give away my past life?
Yeah.
I don't talk about this much because it always feels a bit like name dropping.
No, drop the names.
So I worked in the music industry for about 10 years there. And that was when I first started. And that's the interesting thing. I'm gonna tie this back to hypnotherapy in our industry as much as I can. Back when I was doing that job, it didn't feel like I was doing a job. It felt like I was being paid for my hobby. It felt like I was just being paid to do what I was passionate about already. And because of that, there were some challenges there. And I guess there's some good life lessons here. There were some challenges there in a sense that I sometimes lost who Lawrence was as opposed to Lawrence's job description.
Interesting.
So there were times when I couldn't turn that off. I'd be out in a nightclub with friends and I'd go, hey, this is a great venue. This would be good for such and such a launch. And I'd go and find the venue owner and like tie up a promo there and then, which benefits some of my friends because it meant, hey, drink cards for all and VIP rooms and whatever. But it just meant that my mind was never switched off from that. And in hindsight, that probably wasn't healthy. Because when I stepped away from that career, I went through this real dark moment of trying to figure out who I was again. Without that, having had that thing stripped away from me, it was like, who am I again? Because I wasn't sure. And so, I think that again, we're lucky because we are in this industry and we get to do these things that we're really passionate about and help people. And, it's great. But I also am aware of some people who don't know how to turn that off as well, how to sometimes step back and just be.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. And I've got to admit, it's probably been only in the last 2 to 3 years where I've actually gone, okay, stop thinking about work. Because everything to me, because you and I both, we have the best job in the world. We get to help people every day and we're so passionate about it and we're so fucking good at it and it just works and it's amazing, right? When you can do a job and be passionate about it and be really good at it, you're just ticking all the boxes. Everything's great.
It doesn't feel like work.
No, it really doesn't feel like work. And that's something that I really consciously have to work on, is switching off from work. Because even in a movie, I'm analyzing the characters and I'm analyzing the behaviors and going, oh, I could talk about this moment here in the next workshop, or I could, this reminds me of this client. I can say this to this client. And that's where we have to actually stop ourselves and go, rest. Because
that might be, I think in some ways that is utilization of your knowledge and awareness. You're just seeing the world through that lens. I don't know if that's necessarily a negative thing. I think it's more than when you catch up with a friend and they're going through a hard time, and perhaps some people might feel the need to overanalyze that, or become almost like they're, going to counsel or
the therapist
therapy with their friends, when their friend really just needs someone that they can bitch to and
have a rant to.
Be human with for a moment.
Can we talk about the bitch? All right. This is really, really important. Everybody in this world needs someone, I call it the rant, that you just need to be able to rant to.
Yeah.
Without being someone trying to analyze, or someone trying to fix it, or someone trying to explain to you what you just need to bleh, right? But this is the thing. You've got to be really careful and trust the person you're ranting to.
Yeah.
This is huge, because you can rant to someone and go, my husband's pissing me off. And then 6 months, down the track, they're like, yeah, do you remember when Anthony did this to you and Anthony did that to you? You don't want that. You don't want someone who is then going to repeat what you said to anyone. You just need that really safe space to be able to go, blah. It's so important for us. Don't you find?
Absolutely. It's part of being human. And I think that sometimes we get caught up in trying to be more than human or better than human. And, sometimes we just need to remember we're just apes with better fashion sense, and sometimes not even that. Sometimes we do just want to fling our poo at people.
And that's okay.
It's okay. That's part of the human experience. And I also believe very strongly that and I guess this is almost verging on shadow kind of work, but the more we can embrace our flaws and recognize that we are flawed, the better we can be. Because
Lawrence, I know I'm interrupting you, but I just had this massive thing. What got you going from music industry, where you would promote these huge stars like Kylie Minogue and all of them, like huge stars, to being a hypnotherapist?
Well, my exit from the music industry wasn't my choice for a start. And I dare say that a lot of people's exit in the music industry is rarely their choice. Keep in mind that I was in the music industry 20 years ago. What was also popular 20 years ago? Faster speed internet and Napster.
Yes.
So changing technology, changing availability of roles. And the other thing about the music industry is that there was no shortage of people who would happily work in it for 10 CDs and the smell of an oily rag. It's just not an industry that so I know some people still in it that have made a very successful, incredible careers out of it. And they've got that tenacity and that ability to pivot in situations to maintain their career. For me though, after I left the industry, I tried to get back in, and I just couldn't find anything that really worked for me. And then I actually went into recruitment, which is an area I still do some work in occasionally, or still do work in frequently. But and what I found about recruitment was that I was actually quite good at it. I was naturally quite good at it. And what people may not recognize about the recruitment industry is that it's comprised of two key skill sets. One half is sales, because you have to phone people and cold call and build relationships and all that sort of thing. And the other half of it is coaching and counseling. So, and I'd always say coaching and counseling, depending upon the mindset of the person I'm working with, because I've had some people that came and saw me and they thought they were absolutely brilliant. In that case, it was probably more of a coaching need. Because sometimes you need to talk them off their own podium. And other times it was counseling. I've had people come and see me who have gone through incredibly savage experiences in the workplace, bullying, toxic environments, and they have lost all confidence in their ability. And I've had people sitting there crying in front of me while talking about their job. So I recognized after a while that the helping people aspect of it was something I really enjoyed, that I found really meaningful and purpose driven. And so that's why I started to move more towards hypnotherapy. But actually what had happened is I'd gone away for a holiday at the end of 2013. And at that point, I wasn't really enjoying my job anymore. I was very overweight. There were issues all in almost every part of my life. There was issues. And while I was away in Europe, I realized that life had to be better, that I had to go back and do something different. And I literally got back from Europe and I opened my email for the first time after coming back to get, all the string of emails coming through. And the one that really caught my eye immediately was, learn hypnotherapy course starts this weekend. And so I phoned and said, you still got space? Yeah, no, sign me up. I'm coming. So literally it was a spontaneous decision that, back at the start of 2014 that led to me sitting here now talking to you as a hypnotherapist.
It's amazing. And I want all the listeners to hear that Lawrence is he really champions other hypnotherapists. Like, we've brought people out from America to teach, stage hypnosis, and, he creates this beautiful space where he works. He works in the city of Melbourne, and, he makes sure that the rooftops there are available for international speakers to come and speak, and, locals to come and speak. So you really are a champion for other people. That's what I love about you. But there's something we were talking about, and thank you for sharing your story. I want to talk about pornography and the dangers of pornography.
Boom chicka wow wow.
Yeah. Boom chicka wow wow. Okay, so I want to talk about pornography. So because a couple of years ago, I want to tell you a little story. I heard that when men or women are addicted to pornography, they find it very hard to be sexually aroused without the screen, without the pornography.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how real or how true this was until I was running one of my events, and I had a beautiful woman here, and she said, my husband cannot get an erection unless he's looking at porn. And she said, we haven't made love for 2 or 3 years. Like, he doesn't want to touch me because I'm not a screen. And she's gorgeous, gorgeous. So I said to her, let's test it. I said, so you're telling me that you can stand there naked and he won't get an erection? She goes, nah, not for a very long time. So I went, let's test it. So I said, go another room, take a nudie, take a photo of your bare breasts, send it to your husband, and just see what happens. Within a second of her sending it, he rings her and goes, babe, I'm so hard for you right now. And it really saddened me. And I'm like, how many relationships is this destroying?
Yeah.
Or how many future relationships is this destroying as well?
You're asking so many really good questions there. I think porn addiction is an interesting one. For me, if I had chosen what areas to start kind of specializing in, porn addiction probably wouldn't have been one of them, to be honest with you. And full disclosure, the reason why is probably because my mind thinks in innuendo, and there's nothing worse being a therapist than having it crack a little joke in your head. But I've managed to grow up since then.
He hasn't at all.
Sometimes there's a little snigger. Sometimes I do say things that kind of it leaves my mouth, and then there's a part of me going, "Oh, you should have said that better." But I think the problem is that a lot of guys, well, actually, let's face it, statistically, most guys will have looked at porn starting from the ages of 13 and 14.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about 60% plus will have experienced porn at that age. And I would dare say that while I can't remember the exact statistic off the top of my head, it's probably around 90% of guys out there have viewed porn. Yes. And I'd probably argue 10% that lie.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So it's and I also need to state here, I'm not for or against porn.
No, me either.
You know, I think in certain situations, in certain circumstances, it can be beneficial for people. But as with anything that is done in excessive amounts, that it can become problematic. In fact, I was listening to the Andrew Huberman podcast this morning, and he had on a specialist in addiction, and she was talking about someone that she'd seen who was addicted to drinking water, because in excessive amounts it can cause a hallucinatory effect, and so she was doing that instead.
Wow.
So it's fascinating. You know, I think people need to remember we do have the ability to get addicted to anything that has a dopamine release attached to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with pornography, it's a huge dopamine.
Massive dopamine release.
Like it's a huge drop. It's like, you know, being addicted to ice and then just saying stop.
Yeah. And this is the thing. The problem is that for a lot of guys, they start watching it really early on, and it becomes a bit of a pattern for them, and they're viewing it as being quite harmless. It's just something that they do because it's, you know, a quick and easy way to basically get their rocks off, to be honest. So they're not recognizing the fact that what they're doing is creating at a neuroplasticity level these patterns that are forming over time. And so they also build these associations attached with that as well. So as they repeat that pattern, it gets to the point where, you know, they're neurologically associating porn and masturbation and screens with that sexual fulfillment.
Yeah.
As a result of that, research has shown that there is a notable amount of people who have excessive porn use that are also experiencing performance issues in bed, particularly erectile dysfunction, or who struggle to be able to engage sexually with their partner due to their use of porn as well. There's also documented evidence to show that it might be causing anxiety, might be causing depression, it might be causing brain fog as well. So there are all these things that people may not think are associated with watching porn that could potentially come from that. And there's the whole no-fap movement that exists now, where guys are you know, taking the time to abstain from watching porn and masturbating. And, you know, generally after 90 days, they're documenting how different they feel, how much clearer focus they have, how they find that they can begin to allow their mind to naturally reboot and rewire and connect back to how it should be. It's natural. Not everyone's going to be 90 days. Some are going to be longer. Some may struggle altogether. I even had a client recently who said to me, what if I don't watch porn, but I imagine the porn I've watched? And it's like, no, the unconscious mind's not going to know the difference between if you have it on screen or if you're remembering it.
That's a great question, though.
Yeah, you need to be able to step away from it altogether. So it's a fascinating area. And, you know, it's for me, the interesting thing I found from really diving into working with this is just how much it really does rely upon some of the traditional addiction protocols that are out there. So it's a fascinating area.
Yeah, it's a big area. And it's like, it was such a boys' club thing to do. And I mean, when you and I were at school, you had to go get a magazine.
Yeah.
Now it's just
even a Target catalog if you're really desperate.
Kmart.
Ooh, hair models.
You know, but like, you know, I think I saw my very first porn magazine. I was walking down the street and someone must have dropped it. I was like, oh, what's this? You know, and I might have been 12 or 13 or something like that. But now, I mean, it's so accessible online.
You know, it's understandable, particularly if you're a kid, to be naturally curious by that, because it does feel naughty and taboo and not what you should be doing. So there's that appeal that kind of happens at that, you know, sure, not developed level. But it does end up having long-term consequences.
Yeah, it really does. It's actually very damaging I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, pardon the pun.
About to say, see, there's my mind going, oh, okay, could have been better words there.
I don't know like a lot about it, but I just do know from seeing a couple of clients. It's not my expertise at all, helping with clients, but I usually refer those clients onto somebody else who has a porn addiction. I will look more at their relationships.
Yeah.
And I'll get someone else to do the porn addiction.
This is the thing, particularly with, I mean, if you talk, anyone who does couples counseling knows that generally you see the couple after they've kind of done some work on themselves first. And so if the guy's got porn, and generally the scenario that's probably played out is something like this: the guy's been watching porn without telling his partner.
Yes.
And the partner, there might also be kids involved here as well. The partner has discovered them watching porn and given what I refer to as the reality slap to them.
Yeah.
Reality slap is that moment where they realize that their behavior may have cost them everything they actually really care for and hold dear.
Yes.
The reality slap is actually brilliant. If they get that, it's a blessing for them, because it stings like hell, but it will probably slap that behavior right out of them straight away. And then we can begin to work more on recovery and maintenance instead of actually dealing with the urge and the addiction that's there. But otherwise, generally guys won't come and see me for porn addiction unless they're becoming really aware of some of the more pronounced symptoms that come with that.
Okay.
So, for instance, one guy I know came and saw me because he was working from home. Since the lockdowns, he pretty much had his work screen here and a screen here that was playing porn the entire time he was working.
Whoa.
And he found that he couldn't work without that being there.
Wow.
So that's a pretty extreme case.
Yeah.
Guys come and see me who were getting concerned because they recognized that they were completely objectifying women, and that it was becoming really hard for them to see them as people, but just sexy women instead, and that awareness was really beginning to play on them. You also got to factor in, is there drug use involved as well? Because frequently there can be, and that may complicate the issue even further.
I was working with a lot of elite sports stars, and one of their biggest addictions is gambling and pornography. Yeah. Because they can't drink, they can't take drugs, they can't do any of that. Also, they would take some of them as cough mixture. But pornography and gambling was huge because they're looking for this escape and this dopamine hit. And it was like young guys, like young top elite players, 22, 23, can't get an erection with their fiancés. Yep. It's
and then the fiancé starts to wonder, is it her?
Yes.
In some cases. That and then that's a real, so I had a client only recently who hadn't had sex with his wife for years, and she was beginning to throw questions to him about, is he perhaps gay? Yeah. And, yes. That was a real sting for him. So, it definitely can present itself in lots of different ways in relationships. The funny thing is that 20 years ago, as you mentioned, well, we're a lot longer for us.
A little bit longer, my love. It was about 30.
Who's being generous? Jeez, it's
God, I love you.
More like 30, mate. Years now in my case. Oh well.
30, freaking, it's not.
Yeah.
It's 40
I'm still
years
young.
For me.
I'm
52. So it's about 40 years for me.
So back then, there was a limit on it for guys that wanted to engage in it back then had to go and get it.
And we didn't have it on a video either.
No, it was magazine or a VHS.
Yes.
If you wanted to watch the VHS, you had to go and order it and wait for it to be delivered, and then go through the old put in the player.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that. I never saw anything like that. Mine was all.
I'll keep talking. There was a process As Emma quietly coughs up half of whatever that is there. Whereas nowadays, of course, in the last, where I was going the last 20 years, is that we've had internet. In the last 10 years, we've had high-speed internet. So it's gone from being something that you kind of had to plan for and schedule to on demand. And this is the big problems that a lot of guys are watching on their phones. They can do it waiting to start work in the car park. Some have. A lot of tradies will start early and they'll be like, I'll just watch a bit of porn with my coffee for breakfast.
Yes, it's true. Smoko.
Yeah, smoko. Watch a bit of porn. And they'll say guys show each other the porn as well. It's a guy thing to do. So I think that is the other issue, is that technology has made it so much more accessible, and we're dealing about that instant gratification.
Yes.
And the other
so what do we do about it?
Well, one more problem I want to share,
yeah,
is, and you touched on this before, is that quite often what a lot of what the research has found is that they might start watching something that is quite vanilla, for want of a better term, but as that becomes boring to them, they start to engage in more extreme porn. And I think as they build an acceptance to that, that's where we discover also issues about their partner not arousing them anymore or anything, because what they're seeing, the fantasy they're seeing in this more extreme thing, can't match their reality. It just doesn't have a chance of matching their reality.
Yep. Yep, exactly. It's so what do we do about it though?
Look, there's a few things we can do about it. I think the first thing is that a discussion around porn use probably needs to be worked into school curriculums as part of sex education talk. Younger people need to be made more aware about what the potential damage can be from excessive use. And, it needs to start there, because a lot of the guys are accessing porn at that very early age. So at the same time as they have sex education, it's probably worth having a very adult and frank conversation about the fact that there is adult entertainment out there. And ultimately, you need to be able to be aware of what repeated excessive use of that can do at a neurological level.
I'm going to tell the viewers what I did with the boys. So my boys are now 20 and 21, but I found this out when they were about 14 and 15, of that it can actually make you impotent. Like it can make you like not have an erection and anything. And I was quite shocked by it. I didn't know this. And I kind of ran upstairs. I went, hey guys, I got to just share this with you, because I knew they were watching pornography. They would tell me. I didn't know what to extent, but I had said to them, I just shared like really blatantly. I'm like, hey, I didn't know this, but did you know that excessive pornography, like watching, can do this? Like I didn't know. And they're like, I had no idea about that. I went, maybe research it, make sure. So what I'm saying here to the viewers is this. I didn't sit there and shame them. I didn't go, you can't do this. I just went, hey guys, I found out this information. Here, it's yours now. I would Google it and see if it's even true. Because it's not like their mother is telling them not to wank. Right? I didn't want to do that. I wanted them to go, yeah, you wank away, boys. It's good, it works, right? But I want them to have healthy relationships in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? So I'm like, here's this information. And they just went, oh, okay. It was like an invite. I invited them to have a look at it, and it was all about them. And they just took the information, and they were coming to me telling me stats, going, shit, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, like that's insane. And like, they still watch it, but not much, as they've told me.
In moderation. And,
which is great.
In some cases, it can be used to help bring relationships back together. It can be used in really productive ways. I'm going to say a phrase that, again, my immature mind would snigger at, but I think you handled that well.
Thanks.
In the sense that you're right. This isn't a shame thing.
No.
It has the potential, because it's sex related, to be shameful. And I think it's really important that we make sure that whenever we talk about it to people, that we acknowledge that we are talking about a basic human need here and basic
Yes.
urges. So there's nothing to be ashamed of here at all, but about being aware of what the consequences might be for excessive use. Much in the same way you'd warn someone who loves cake that excessive use is going to make them fat. I should have heeded the warning.
Stop eating the cake.
Yeah, you're doing that because you're doing it out of love and care and wanting to make sure that they can enjoy a little bit of that delicious sweet cake, but you can't have it every day. It's exactly the same thing here.
There is something else I wanted to mention to you
mm-hmm.
and see what your take on it is. And I actually had to ask my son, Jack, for advice about this. So this is about I think we're in lockdown. And a couple of my clients and my friends started buying their children sex toys. Now, I'm talking a 12-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
Bought him I think it's called a flashlight or something. It looks like a pretend vagina, right? And then another girl, she was in Perth and she bought a 14-year-old vibrator and stuff like that. And it didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with me. There was a couple of reasons. I was like, can these kids not find pleasure with just themselves? Why do they have to have something outside of themselves to give them pleasure? So I actually asked Jack about it because Jack's worked with a lot of clients and a lot of kids and stuff. And he said, these parents need to get out of their kids' sex lives. And I went, you fucking nailed it, mate. And he goes, they have to stop pretending to be their best friends and start parenting their kids. He goes, you tell that person to pick up that freaking sex toy and hide it or throw it out and let these kids explore their bodies with their own skin.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is perfect. It's not up to us as parents to buy our children sex toys.
No.
I would have been mortified if my mother bought me a sex toy.
The last thing I want to do is be using a sex toy and thinking of my parents.
Thinking of your mum. Oh my God.
True.
That's what Jack said. Jack said, get out of your kids' sex lives.
That's exactly, I think, as parents, you probably need to have certain boundaries around.
Definitely.
You want to be able to be the guardian and the advisor, and to be able to educate them around sex at certain times. But I think sexual activity and sexual education are two different things.
Oh my God, exactly.
And so,
keep going. Sorry.
I was about to say, quite often I think that as much as it might lead people down the wrong path, or if I think about my own sex education, most of it came from my peers. And just that discussion that happened.
Yeah.
And, I think that's absolutely okay. That's what your peers are there for. It's in the name. It's to be equals, to be the same, as opposed to parents who I think, that might be overstepping that boundary just a tad.
Yeah, too much. Yeah, it was very interesting. And then speaking to the parents, I then started asking them, tell me your real purpose, your honest purpose of wanting to buy it for them. And every single one of them came back with one thing, with the same thing. I wanted to be the cool parent.
So it was about them.
It was all about them. It wasn't about the child. It was all about them and their own needs of being felt like connected and felt, loved through that moment.
I probably didn't realize the kids probably wouldn't know how to respond to that moment. If I put myself in those kids' places, I would probably be awfully confused, embarrassed, maybe even feeling a little bit ashamed from that being brought up. And I wouldn't want my parents thinking I was using that. That kind of thing.
I know, it's so weird, isn't it?
Private to me.
I know, I get it. But then I understand the needs of these parents who wanted to look like the cool person. And it's funny because most of them, out of all of them, they were single mums competing with a partner that the kids were more connected with. I was just looking at all of the dynamics. I was looking at all the little bits and pieces that were coming around it. Like, why? Why do you want to be the cool parent? Why do you want to be friends? What do you feel that you're lacking? What are you in competition with? And it's when I said competition, who are you in competition with? They're like, oh, my ex. And I was like, this is fascinating.
I'm going to have my own moment. Excuse me.
Go. Lawrence is coughing.
No, it's my cat. My cat.
Oh, it's your cat.
I have my noise things on this, but I don't think your audience need to hear a rambunctious ginger constantly meowing because, you know, daddy's talking about porn.
It's usually I'm the robust ginger that keeps talking.
Yes, I have to say to my cat's Van Gogh, his name. So I would have to say to Van Gogh, shush, because I'm talking to the other rambunctious ginger.
Do you know what? We're going to have to like wind it up. But I love that today we're spoken about you in the music business, what got you into hypnotherapy, pornography, sex toys, parents who want to be friends and no boundaries. We've talked about so much today.
Identity. There was a bit about identity.
Yes. Let me write that down so I can put on the list. Identity, dark moments and finding oneself. I'm going to ask you just one question before we go. You said that you really lost yourself. There were dark moments when you like you had to leave, or your life with the music industry dissolved, right? How did you find yourself?
It was a long process. It's not like I was down the back of the couch along with a 20-cent piece or anything like that. It was definitely a case of rediscovering what my purpose was again, what my values were, what made me what drove me as a human being. And one of the values I discovered was about helping other people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have discovered that had I not ended up in the world of recruitment. It's funny, in the world of recruitment, you know, all my previous bosses have said that the best recruiters are the ones driven by the sale. Yet, let me put it this way. The average recruiter brings in 4 times their salary in a year. An above average recruiter brings in 5 times their salary in a year. At one point there, I brought in 7.5 times my salary.
Wow.
I was so busy that as jobs came in, I literally just passed them off to teammates because I just couldn't do all the work. And the reason why was because I was driven by the desire to help people.
That's beautiful.
Not the sale. The sale came because I was driven by a desire to help people.
Yes. That
wasn't my focus, was the sale. It was, what can I do that's going to change this person's life?
I love that.
And that helped me to kind of connect to this later part of my life where it's really everything I do is actually driven around the idea of how can I make people's lives better? So,
guys, if you want to know more about Lawrence also does his incredible workshop. And he's helped me so much. And it's for therapists who want to record hypnotherapy sessions. And you can record anything. We just did an incredible workshop. I'm always spruiking it everywhere. Lawrence, how do these people find you?
Look, if they want, they can come to my website, which is www.releasehypnosis.com.au. So you can always find me there. You can also find my page on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, X, whatever it's called this week.
And what's like your title on these? Is it Lawrence Akers or Release Hypnosis?
Release Hypnosis.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Or if you go on LinkedIn, you can find me as Lawrence Akers there, but get the Release Hypnosis one. Yeah.
Lawrence does incredible work with men and women, you know, stop smoking, pornography, like just a plethora of things. And he's someone who you might just want to have contact with and even just chat to say, hey, can you help me? Because I'm sure he can, 100%. And why suffer when we don't have to?
Yeah, exactly.
Why the fuck suffer when we don't have to? When we've got these people And hypnosis, it is so gentle, yet so freaking deeply profound and instant.
And so versatile as well. So
exactly.
I think people might assume hypnosis is always about, lounging back on a seat and going to a special place and, and it may not be
No,
that. It might be
no.
something very different again. So yeah, it's always fun to play with the different ways hypnosis can be engaged in.
Exactly. My love, thank you so much for doing
Thank you.
this.
I've had an absolute blast.
I love you. You're amazing. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Lawrence Akers and myself. Hope you've enjoyed this. We are not sponsored. We just do this out of our own back just to inspire you. So please keep in contact with us and Inspired Conversations with Emma and Kel. We're all over Spotify. We're over YouTube. You can see the video on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Inspired Conversation with Emma and Kel. Please keep in contact with us. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about. And let us know how you're feeling and what's coming up for you as well. We love you so much. We'll speak to you soon. Bye.